What's up, Bug Nation? I'm here with head volleyball coach, Coach Spurgeon. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Could you tell us a little bit about the transition you had from Talladega to CBU?
Yeah, so I feel like my transition has been good. Going from NAI to D2, not too much of a change with the exception of rules and expectations. And so I feel like, you know, who I am, the culture I'm trying to establish, kind of transferred over here while I've been at CBU, just trying to lay that foundation. So I would say in all the transition has been well, and I'm still kind of getting through some kinks, but it's been good so far.
How has the support been from other teams and out of Jackson?
I think the support has been well, overall. I think we had a lot of support this season, especially from other teams across campus. When it comes down to Dr. Jackson, he's been a really big support. I feel like, as far as like resources and the things that we need, he's always checking in, asking us if there are things that we need, and pretty much supports us and lets us do what we need to do in order for us to be successful. So, he's been a great support with the transition in the beginning of the semester, and everything's been great.
Just getting into this season here. You went 15-17 for the season, a little bit under 500, 9-10 in conference play, but 8-5 at home. So tell me, how has that been for you?
I think it was good. I mean, we started off when you're starting from the bottom, it's not, always going to be the easiest. And I think that, we had our bumps in the road. We had our moments, which was expected. And so we kind of were able to work through those. And it really started clicking around senior day, senior night. We had a standout weekend. We ended up beating UAH, and that was a huge win for us. And, we carried that over. And from there, it was just a really, really, really great weekend and a good end to the season for us. We were kind of on a roll, just going. And I think the biggest part of that was just recognizing the things that we needed to fix, buying in as a team, and then just going for it with like, this is what we have, this is what it's going to be. We either continue to push and we continue to win, or it's we lay down and then our season is going to be done. So, the girls decided that we were going to keep going, and they bought in, and we finished on a good note.
Before the season started, what were some goals that you had for your team?
Yeah, so the goal for me this year, being it was my first year, was to lay the foundation, change the culture. I'm coming into a program that essentially hasn't been winning, and you are a new coach. I really didn't get to recruit. I inherited a roster, and so my intentions was like, hey, I'm going to come in. I'm going to give the girls that are here a chance. I'm going to bring in a few girls, welcome in the freshmen, and from there we're going to lay down the foundation of the culture that we're trying to establish, so that we can see where we go from there. And so that was honestly my biggest goal, was just laying the foundation, establishing the culture, and then going from there. As far as like wins and losses, yeah, I wanted to win some, but that wasn't a big factor to me. The biggest thing was just our culture. And that's something that I feel like I did preach all year, like the standard. What standard are we setting? What does our culture look like? And I think that, I repeated that several times throughout the season. And I think towards the end, it did start to click a little bit with the girls.
Right. So you mentioned you inherited a roster. How important is to come in and create that culture and the dynamics of things? Again, you said the standard. So how hard is it, or how important it is to create that?
Yeah, I think it's very important. It's so like coming in and inheriting the roster, coming in when I did, the roster was pretty much already finished. So I had to work with what I had. And my thing was, hey, I'm going to give these girls a chance. I'm going to let them know my expectations. And once I let them know my expectations, the thing was, hey, either you fit or you don't. I always say I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And, some people may like the way that we do things, some people may not. By the end of the season, I believe that, it started to show like where we were at, and, those that bought in and those who were still kind of on the fence. But overall, again, coming in, I think this year from the roster in total, we had a recruitment of 3 different coaches. So we had 23 girls recruited by 3 different coaches. That's
Wow.
always a tough task, I feel like, as a coach, when you're trying to start over and establish a culture.
Okay, so with the inherited roster and the roster that you brought in, you still was able to bring in several different all academic players. You also was able to achieve a player that reached all conference. So tell me, how does that help the team, and how does that help, with your recruiting and your resume as well?
I mean, I I think it helps. I mean, when it comes down to just recruitment, when it comes down to my resume, I think overall, I've coached all Americans. I've had all conference players. I have coached kids that were all academic. I think anywhere I've been, the culture and the standard has always been set high. So coming in the year and still being able to accomplish those things wasn't a surprise to me simply because of who I am and simply because of the type of athletes that I have coached previously. And then going into this year, I think, being in the conference that we're in, it's a very tough conference. And I think the competition level is solid from the very top team all the way down to the bottom. And so, being able to get a second team all conference player as well as, get some academic players is a plus. It's always a plus. But again, I think the bigger picture for me is the team as a whole, what each individual person was able to accomplish. I don't think that we would have had that second team player of the year had it not been for the people that was around her.
The GSC had you ranked at the very bottom the beginning of the year. This is also the best record since 2017. Going into the season, you seeing y'all at the bottom of the ranks. How does that make a coach feel? How does that make a
Yeah,
player feel?
I think that us being voted at the bottom of the conference was fair. New coach, you had a team that won a total of 8 games last year. I think overall, the total amount of conference games won last year, the year before I got here, I think was it 3?
Mhm.
Was it around 3? And so I think that us being voted last was absolutely fair. But for me, it's a challenge. Like I told the girls, like, hey, we're at the bottom. We have nowhere to go from up. So how do we accept that challenge? How do we improve? It's not necessarily about the wins and the losses. For me, it was about the locker room. For me, it was about how we looked as a team on the court. Were we making improvements? There were some games where it's like we went out, we played very well, but what are the things that we saw that we need to work on? And that's something I always ask the girls, like, give me something, give me some positives and give me some things that you feel like that we can do better on. So that was my intention. That was my goal. And that is something I always told the girls, like, hey, we can compete if we want to compete. It doesn't matter if we're the bottom because at the end of the day, we have nowhere to go but up.
But
So
you have one graduate assistant. Uh, so tell me how hard is that or how challenging it is to have a grad assistant? The majority of the teams had several different coaches and assistants. So tell me how hard it is and challenging it is to, handle that type of situation.
yeah, I mean, just going off the amount of kids that we had, having 22 to 23 kids, having a full-time coach and then a grad assistant versus going against other teams that have a little more help on their staff or support on their staff. It is tough, but at the end of the day, I feel like I know what it is that I signed up for. I know it is that I accepted. So, having a GA that is strong-minded, having a GA that played for me, that understood me as a coach and learned me as, as now my assistant helped out a lot. And that was the biggest thing for me going in, knowing that I would not have a full time assistant and I would have a GA. I wanted to get somebody that understood me. I wanted to get somebody that, was able to navigate and work the way that I like. And so I think that although it is challenging because it would be great to, to have, a full-time assistant or another set of eyes. But at the end of the day, again, I know what I signed up for. And although it is a challenge, I think it's all worth it because with us, we work well together. We bounce off of each other very well. And so I think, we have that extra workload, but at the same time, it's only making me better. It's only making her better. So we roll with it and we do what we have with the resources that we have.
So tell me how's recruiting going for you and what all are you looking for? If you're still recruiting, how does that process look for you?
Yeah, I think recruiting is going well for us. Like we've been very, very particular in who we want and what we're going to do because I think that with the amount of kids that we have coming back and then also trying to find those key factors is really important to me. But overall, I would say the recruitment is going really well for us. And if we end up picking up someone by like mid or end of the summer, I'll take that as well. But when it comes down to recruitment, I think that we're doing what's necessary to bring in key pieces to help us continue where we left off from last season.
Okay. So the GSC is a very tough conference for volleyball. Obviously, you guys went to the second round. Hasn't been done in quite some time now. You went on a 7 game win streak. How was the atmosphere? How was the environment? How was the players during that time period? A lot of games was won on the road as well. So tell me, how did y'all come together and kind of gel and make that happen?
Yeah, I think overall, like when we went on that win streak, our energy was great. Like practices were intense. We were challenging each other. We were working hard. The biggest thing for us all year was challenging each other in practice. We struggled with that so much throughout the season. But when we got to that point where it was like, hey, we have three seniors, two of which that have been here 4 years, that have been through ups and downs, and they've literally poured everything into this program and they're still here despite the win-loss record. I think that is when we saw that shift. We saw that change. And I think that again, competing at practice, holding ourselves to a high standard, being accountable, being responsible for not only ourselves, but the people beside us. I think that is what helped us to push and go on that 7 game win streak at the end of the season. And then after we got a couple wins, conference wins under our belt, and we started to see, I think it was a light that was like, hey, we can compete, we can win. Like, we just have to go out there. And I told them at the end of the day, I always say, if you go out, you give your 100%, and it doesn't fall in our favor, I'll take that. But what I do not want from you all is to leave regrets. Like, if we finish and we don't make it to pro season, if we finish and we don't get this win, I want us to leave it all out there on the floor. And I think every single time that we went out there, even up until our last match against UAH in the tournament, I can honestly say that these girls left it all out there. And I was satisfied and content on where we finished overall for the season.
Could you tell me any memories that you had for the season?
Yeah, I would say my top favorite memory was probably in preseason at a tournament. We were Missouri. We played Harding. We beat them. I think that was a really good early win for us against a really good program. So I would have to say that that's definitely in my top three. I would say number two would have to be beating Montevallo here at home. And then three would have to be going to Valdosta and beating them in the first round. If you go back and you look at the score, they definitely took care of business the first 2 times that they played us. So us being able to go there in the postseason and knowing that, hey, it's either win or go home, and then go in there and beat them, and just start strong, stay focused throughout, and finish the way that we did was actually a great, great, great moment and a pivotal moment for us, especially qualifying to go to the tournament. So that was great. Those are, I would say, those are my top three for sure.
Going into season 2, how does the 26-27 season looks for you coming up?
I would say just stay tuned. Our roster's not complete just yet. We're adding the finishing touches, but again, I'm not the type of coach that talks a lot, but at the end of the day, I think that you stay tuned and see. And I think that we're gonna pick up where we left off, but continue to push, continue to build, and we'll go from there.
You was announced award winner for WeCOACH. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how they came about?
Yeah, so I actually applied for the WeCOACH scholarship and I ended up getting it. I ended up getting accepted. This is class, I think, 56. I'm really excited. I'm excited because it's a chance for me to network with other coaches from different sports. It's also a chance for me to learn and grow. And I'm always looking for ways to grow as a coach, just not within the volleyball realm, but just overall. So I'm very, very, very excited and I'm grateful for the opportunity to go to the WeCOACH Academy.
Again, thanks again, coach. Congratulations on the season that you had, and we wish more to come.